Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearing for December 18th, 2024. My name is Dennis Joe, and I will be conducting hearing as hearing officer. The Planning Hearing Officer meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T UVerse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live on high definition on the city's webpage at glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast, choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing at any time at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Today, we have a single case involving discretionary permit applications. This hearing will proceed as follows. One, I will read the description of the applicant and request. I will read the reports received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief presentation with an overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. Applicant will then be asked to be called on to be present, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support or in opposition of the application and interested parties will be called on to give a comment in person or in telephone, and again, clearly stating their name and address, and will be given a 3-minute time limit. Last, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers with a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and then taken under submission. Findings. If the evidence is present in the application at the hearing meets the required findings set forth in the municipal code, then the project can either be approved or approved with conditions. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Decisions. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in a form of a letter sent to the applicant and all persons who responded to the public notice either by speaking at this hearing or submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of this decision will be appearing on the letter. Record of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 3062 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal must file using the city's online portal. For additional information regarding the appeal process and submittal, please contact the case planner. Public notice. Notification for this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to the property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property. It was physically posted on the subject site and was placed in the local newspaper. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer meetings hearing are being televised live and may be viewed online on the city's website. Okay, moving on to today's cases. As I stated before, there is a single case. It is a standards variance, case number PVAR 003543-2004. The applicant is Rodney Kahn, care of Kahn Consulting. The project location is 515 to 523 North Central Avenue. And the project description is a standard variance to exceed the floor area ratio maximum for a previously approved hotel by expanding the floor area by approximately a little bit under 3,000 square feet. Next, I will read submitted interdepartment comments. Just to briefly go overview of the comments received from interdepartments. I see that most of them were standard or no comments, other than I think the Parks Department had just prescribed that there were going to be development fees associated. Other than that, there were no significant comments from any other departments, which these comments also are posted online. Next, I'm going to call on to Roger Kiesel. Please go ahead and give your presentation and a brief overview.
All right. Excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Joe. The applicant is requesting approval of a standards variance to exceed the floor area ratio permitted in the DSP transitional district for the Hotel Indigo. This hotel has already received its discretionary approvals and is currently under construction. The project site allows a maximum floor area ratio of 3.0, which translates on this subject site to 69,928 square feet of floor area. The proposed hotel is just under that at 69,927 square feet. The applicant with the current proposal is proposing to add a total of 2,580 square feet of floor area to the first, second, and third floors of the hotel. This will bring the total square footage of the hotel to 72,507, and the floor area ratio to 3.1. The subject site is located on the west side of Central Avenue between Milford and Doran Streets. The 783 square foot first floor addition will be used for cooking, storage, and prep area for the adjacent kitchen and lobby areas, and was carved out of space above the driveway, providing access to the subterranean garage. And this area is highlighted in red. The second floor, the 1,268 square foot second floor addition will be used for back of house facilities, including employee rest area, restrooms, locker rooms, and offices, and was initially double height space. And this is outlined in red as well on the second floor. The 527 square foot third floor addition will be used as a gym for guests and was previously approved as a covered area adjacent to the swimming pool. And that's outlined here, and the swimming pool here. The next four slides are elevations of the hotel. This is the north or the Doran elevation. The alley elevation, the south elevation, and then the east elevation on Central Avenue. This is a photo, a relatively recent photo of the site under construction. Up here is Central Avenue, and this street is Doran. So pursuant to the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance may be granted only if 4 findings of fact can be made. And these findings of fact include that their strict applications of the provisions of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. The second finding is that exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property or development that do not apply to other property or development in the same zone or neighborhood. The third finding is granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the zone or neighborhood. And then the final condition is the variance. Granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. Staff does believe that the 4 findings can be made in the affirmative in the present case. Related to the first finding, the application of the ordinance would result in difficulties or a hardship. The intent of the FAR regulations is to regulate the mass and bulk of development. Strictly applying the FAR standards in this case would result in unnecessary hardship, since the floor area proposed would not increase the mass or bulk of the building. It's already sort of within the 3D footprint of the building. The second finding, exceptional circumstances apply to the property and the proposed hotel development because hotels are historically risky to build and require some flexibility in development. And I go into that more in the staff report. Additionally, FAR standards in the DSP transitional district are restrictive, particularly when compared to other districts in the DSP. And as I mentioned earlier, the proposed floor area will not increase the massing or the bulk of the project. The third finding, the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental because the amount of floor area proposed to be added is really de minimis. It's less than 3,000 square feet on an almost 70,000 square foot building. And again, no, the building will not increase in mass or bulk as a result of what is being proposed. And then the final finding is granting of the variance will not be will not be contrary to the objective or to the ordinance because the project is consistent with the objectives of the zoning ordinance, the goals of the DSP, and the intent of the FAR standards. And again, I go into this more in the staff report, but just to summarize, what is being proposed really complies with the zoning ordinance, DSP, and FAR. So as I mentioned previously, staff believes that findings can be made for each of the variances and is recommending approval of the project with conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Kiesel. Okay, next I would like to call on the applicant. And I do see there's one speaker card. Mr. Rodney Kahn, go ahead and speak your name, address, and then please go ahead and give your presentation.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Joe. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located here in the city of Glendale. As Mr. Kiesel pointed out, our request is to allow a minor increase in floor area for the Hotel Indigo project that's currently under construction. And we had some additional photographs taken. The one that Mr. Kiesel showed was from a few months ago. I'd like to present these to you to show you the progress we've made. A little bit of background on the project. We received our city council approval back in June of 2020. And if you recall, in January of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic began. So actually, while we were designing our hotel project, hotels were being shut down and businesses were being closed. IHG was our partner, was reevaluating their hotel standards, as was every other hotel brand at the time. We ended up modifying our project. We eliminated some hotel rooms. Originally, it was 137 rooms. It was reduced down to 122. We created a rooftop restaurant with outdoor areas because during that 2021, 2022, when everyone was reevaluating their standards, everything was being considered to allow for greater social distancing, more outdoor space. That was kind of the direction the brands were going. You fast forward to 4+ years later, and many things have changed. So hotel standards are different, and different brands have different standards. Our request today, as Mr. Kiesel pointed out, is to increase the FAR, our floor area ratio, from 3.0 to 3.1. So an increase of 2,850 square feet. What does this allow us? This allows us to have 7 ADA hotel rooms. It allows us to create offices, storage, some freezer space downstairs, employee break room, lockers, restroom, and then the indoor exercise room. These are all items required by IHG to meet their Hotel Indigo standards. As Mr. Kiesel pointed out, it's important to note the building envelope, the exterior of the hotel, it will not change. So the additional square footage is either in the void space or open space within the envelope of the building. The bulk, the mass of the building will not change, which is what FAR standards are established to regulate. I'll briefly go over the findings, as I thought Mr. Kiesel did a good job doing that, so I don't want to be too repetitive. The first item, the strict application of the provisions of such ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship, inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. As called out, these necessary revisions are proposed in order to conform to the certain brand requirements. The additional floor area is within the confines of the building. Strictly applying the FAR standards would be an unnecessary hardship, since the floor area proposed would not increase the mass or bulk of the building. The second item, there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved. Mr. Kiesel referenced, if you want to go further into the staff report, there was a report done by Kaiser Marston. And Kaiser Marston is a firm that specializes in fiscal and economic impacts, mainly for governmental agencies. This report identifies the risk of developing a hotel and the risk of developing a hotel, especially during these times. So the different brands have different requirements. We are meeting those requirements, even though it is risky to be developing hotels at this point. The hotel site is in a transitional area of the city, and that does have a limitation for the floor area. So our site is on the west side of Central in the transitional area. We actually have an alley to the west of us, a 20-foot wide alley, which creates a greater separation of the buildings to the west. And the building to the west, we have just completed. It is one of our projects, which is a 4-story, 33-unit density bonus housing project. The third item, granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare. The minor increase in floor area will establish this hotel, this new viable land use in the downtown area. But not only will it bring a well-designed building, but it also provides employment opportunities for Glendale residents and Glendale businesses. The surrounding land uses, Mr. Kiesel already touched on. To the north of us, we have the Altana building, which is a 5-story high-density residential project. To the south of us, we have 3-story multifamily. To the east of us, we have an 8-story building. Previously was an office building converted into residential. And to the west, as I mentioned, is our other project we are just completing now, which is a 4-story, 33-unit building. Adequate parking has been incorporated to meet the needs of the guests and the visitors to the hotel. The project includes 123 on-site parking spaces, which is 25 spaces more than what the code requires. Driveways on the site off Central and the alley have already been reviewed and approved by Traffic and Transportation. The last finding is the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. The downtown specific plan, which we are part of, encourages hotels as an important component of a thriving business district. Often, our types of projects can result in stimulating and inviting destinations for visitors and Glendale residents. Another objective of the ordinance is to promote the economic viability of a project, not just this project, but the viability of a downtown. and that's what this hotel is doing. Use of the subject property zoned DSP Transitional District is consistent with the land use element of the general plan and the specific language in the zoning code. In conclusion, the proposed enhanced hotel project with the additional floor area will be a landmark project, greatly benefiting the surrounding area and will be an attractive asset to the community. I'll conclude my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Just really quick, the photos you provided me, thank you very much. I think it's pretty helpful. Just for the record, the photos are the existing construction phase, and I think it's of the double height of the first level. The first level, which is the double height of the lobby, and from my understanding, it corresponds with the project here, because I think what the project is requesting is to fill in the additional floor areas at the double height areas, which is shown on this photograph here. So you're filling in, and it's not going to expand the footprint. It's not exceeding the exterior walls that was previously approved by council.
That's correct.
Okay, okay. And I can see that from the programming on your plans, and it's outlined in the staff report. This is mostly just back of house operations of the first floor. I see it's food prep, walk-in freezer, storage areas. I do see like an office, more back of house office in the second floor. And I think you have an amenity up on the third floor that which would be taking place on the, adjacent to the pool deck, which was previously a covered area on the previous plan.
Mr. Joe, is actually that third floor, we actually had it as an exercise area. And what the hotel brand stated was, we need that to be enclosed because when the elements are bad, so whether it was rain or excessive heat, that people would still be able to use that space and it either be air conditioned or heated or enclosed based on the weather elements. So it was still going to be used as a gym area. It's now we're able to enclose it.
Okay, great. Now, these photos are kind of helpful to, and it corresponds, you know, I'm looking at the section drawings on Section E and A54, and it clearly shows where the office is going to be, where it's going to fill in the double height as you're showing here in the photos. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions at the moment. I guess the next thing I'm going to ask, since I don't see any speaker cards here, thank you very much. I'm not going to call any other speakers here present, as I don't have any other cards completed. Mr. Kiesel, is there anybody who called on the phone?
No phone calls.
For any? Thank you. Okay, I think the application's pretty thorough. Just to reiterate, Mr. Kiesel did a pretty thorough job on the findings. You know, the floor area ratio or the additional floor area that's being requested, once again, is going to be what's inside the existing building envelope in the double height area, within the double height area of the first and second floor, mainly over was previously loading area or the lobby. So it's pretty clear what the request here, and it's not going to affect the intent of what a maximum floor area ratio is intended to do, is to have a threshold of the mass and bulk of the building. So thank you very much for the presentation and speaking testimony. I think the case is pretty clear. I will take this case into submission and close it. So right now it's 9:57 a.m. on December 18th, and this will conclude and end the hearing. Thank you for everyone's participation.